Yo, it's Friday. We made it through another week. I don't know what Kyle's swinging back and forth. Today, we're talking about the used car reports yesterday. There were a lot of them. Here's a hint. Used cars are down. Carvana's down. But we have a color chart that might just pick you up.
Everywhere I go,
I think it will.
Really want to know who I is and who I be. They stop and stare with
Welcome to Friday, where we talk colors.
It's the only place where you're going to get automotive news and color theory all in the same 15
All
minutes.
in the same deal.
The color story's fun. We'll get to that at the end. We'll get to that.
Absolutely.
We got a trip next week. A week from today. A week from today, I'm Wheels Up. So, yeah.
Wheels Up.
Only a week. You're
Modern Retail Conference. It's getting exciting. Talk to Glenn. Talk to Brian. Seems like there's just a lot of energy around it. It's crazy because the same week, Modern Retail Conference and Used Car Week are happening. And like the level of expertise, knowledge, capacity at both is pretty obscene. Like if you look at the industry. So
there's some brain power going to be firing next weekend for sure. Next weekend into the following week. We're going to be on the ground and in the dirt. We're teaching a creative track, but we're also bringing the whole podcast gear. We're going to talk to every expert, every dealer we can find, and bring it back to you on our new podcast series called In the Dirt. Search it on Apple and Google and Amazon. In the Dirt. I don't know.
You know what's crazy? If you just search In the Dirt and don't put the with ASOTU, it comes up first.
Get out of here.
I know.
That's interesting because there are a bunch of other In the Dirt.
Blown away. I think it's just because it's new and we already uploaded 25.
Because this community's up on it. That's why. Because this community is like, we'll listen to that. We like that. Yeah, the first episode is the first episode Cirillo? No, it's not. No. Yesterday's episode was Cirillo.
Yesterday's episode on Auto Collabs was Cirillo. We got a couple podcasts. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
Okay, so we got a podcast called Auto Collabs. You may know about Auto Collabs. And yesterday's episode was with Michael Cirillo, who is also a co-host of the show. But Kyle and I interviewed him about his start in the business, and it is probably the most fun I've had in a podcast in a really, really long time.
I think we should have like a fan vote on whether or not we should just do like a 10-minute podcast with Cirillo every week and just like have some random topic that we like someone throws a bomb in the middle of the thing and we just go ham for 10 minutes and then get out.
We're going to get in so much trouble.
So much trouble.
Speaking of getting in trouble.
That was well played. Well played.
Third quarter results reveal that all 6 top public auto groups are seeing significant declines in used car gross profits from down 11% all the way down to 31%. As volume also drops for some here, we'll give you a little. So we're talking about AutoNation, Lithia, Penske, Group 1, Asbury, and Sonic. Gross profit per vehicle ranged from $1,588 to $2,478 for the quarter. Also notable, Penske's Car Shop and Sonic's Echo Park, that's their standalone used car stores, announced they will not be opening anymore. They're pumping the brakes. They have some plan. Actually, Penske actually has some built, and they're not in the UK, and they're not opening them.
No way.
They're up. They're ready. They're just like, hey, I think Roger Penske was like, we're tapping the brakes. It's a little brake check.
That's okay.
That's okay. It is okay. Like to be able to tap the brakes and just say, we don't have to pull out. We just have to let's slow roll it. So this is a combination of higher acquisition costs, softening demand. An analyst Daniel Imbro told Automotive News, he's from a company called Stevens. I'd never heard of him before, but I'm sure they're smart if Automotive News is talking to him. While there's demand for used vehicles at a price point of $15,000 or less, which we know that. Imbro said there aren't many vehicles in that range, but I think the used market will be a weaker profit stream. This is why I put this bold in the notes because I never thought I'd hear these words, read these words, or now say these words. The used car market will be a weaker profit center relative to the new vehicle side.
Can you imagine? Like, take that real quick and just like in 2015, just lob that across. Just see if anyone grabs it.
I think people would have assumed. Crazy. Well, I mean, people would assume that something crazy happened, and I guess something crazy kind of did.
Something crazy has happened. There you go.
How about that?
Here's the thing. I think that what we're seeing from the large publics, the publicly traded used car operators, is that they are much more susceptible to market fluctuations, like broad market fluctuations, because when you start to pick out like local markets or local operators, you don't see a lot of that across the country. And this is where I think, when you look at publics or you look at large organizations, they are much more influenced by broader trends in the economy. And so I would say to like especially local operators, single, 1 to 5 rooftop operators that are in a region, like, don't just take that and be like, oh, we need to pump the brakes because they're seeing that. I don't think it's like one of those leading indicator type things. I think it's they are dominated by like broad market economy, and local brands and local dealers can actually have like a different perspective on that local economy depending on where you're at. And so like hyper focus that a little bit, understand that these are trends that are changing, but don't like go start changing your whole business model because you see these as leading indicators because you're a different business for sure.
It's like, we'll call it operational exposure.
Yes.
Right. They have broad exposure. On the flip side of that, they probably also have some level of resiliency built in, which is the cool part about this industry. It's like everyone's got a strength and weakness, right? If you're local, 1 to 5 rooftops, if you're a major public, you all have a different game to play. Right. So trying to play someone else's game, we talk about that all the time. There's so many different opinions, so many different avenues you can take, so many ways to skin the cat that it's like, that's a gross metaphor, by the way.
Right. And but think about this, because if you have one of those large publics operating in your area, because they're going to make like larger scale decisions on operations, you might actually be able to go gain market share.
Carve out a market segment.
If your local economy is not acting like the broader economy that they're operating in. So just watch that, because you could go grab that market share pretty quickly.
One last quote on this story. It's all about inventory management. Group 1 CEO Earl Hesterberg said October 26th, the industry decline in used vehicle prices required quick action by our team to rapidly sell through existing inventory so we could restock at the latest market prices. This action enabled us to slightly increase sales in a market which declined in double digits. So the lesson to take away from that is pay attention to your inventory, move really fast when you see the need to move fast. And we're probably going to talk about this quite a bit in the clubhouse room. We're about to jump in.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. The lesson from that is join All Things Used Car Weekly Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, because
on Clubhouse
we talk a lot about inventory strategies.
We'll be heading there next, and I'm sure this conversation will be top, and you'll have 140 operators and people who are paying attention to inventory in one room, really tossing this around from different markets across the country. Speaking of tossing things around,
stop.
Segue
time.
In yesterday's earnings call, Carvana, obviously we'll talk about Carvana next. They reported a $508 million net loss, which is larger than their Q1 loss, which was $506 million, and more than 7 times the loss from same time last year, which was only $68 million. As interest rates and inventory costs continue to rise, CEO Ernie Garcia and CFO Mark Jenkins wrote in a letter to shareholders, the environment has continued to get increasingly difficult since the end of the quarter, and it is probable things will continue to get more difficult before they get easier as the company shifts its strategy from focusing on growth to focusing on profit. How about that?
Is there a laugh button somewhere
there
on
is.
My trigger board? I think one of these. Let me see if I got
I don't know if you can find it. That was the collective response. Garcia also
collective response. I mean, here's the thing. Like, first of all, can you imagine in year whatever they're they're like at year 12 or 13? Can you imagine posting continual $508 million net losses and just finally saying like, nah, we'll focus on profit, and shareholders going, yeah, they can probably focus on that. They probably know how to make profit in a non-pandemic, environment. Like, what's to say they even have the capacity to get there as an organization?
They're nothing. I mean, they did achieve. I mean, it was the big story when they did achieve profitability for the first time. Yeah. And they showed, was it 2 quarters?
Yeah. When everybody was
it 2 quarters of profit? I mean, but the total, like, I mean, I do think that them proving that the model could be profitable, like once, I think it triggered like what happened when Amazon first turned profitable, because years and years Bezos is like, hey, it's going to be profitable, we're going to lose a lot of money, but then once they turned profitable, that trajectory kept going. Garcia also noted that cars are very expensive and they're extremely sensitive to interest rates. He added he was hopeful that rates might be peaking. It doesn't seem like that to me.
No.
Interest rates have moved up materially, he says, and most customers use financing to buy a car. So it seems like a lot of like blanket statements coming out, which is what you talk about when you're like, I'm not sure what we talk about.
Car prices are high, interest rates are going up, and people finance cars.
And people usually borrow money to buy cars.
All the shareholders are like, let me write this down.
Yeah, no, they're not. No, they're not. I mean, you do have a lot of retail investors and things in Carvana, so there's a level of like educating them. But
sure,
the three things that are right there are things that have been in headlines across the board, not in automotive things, but just in everything. Their profit for vehicle retail dropped to $3,500, dropped $1,172 from what it was year over year. $3,500 is still a lot. How? Is it just operational overhead? They have debt service. They have operational overhead. Because if you like contrast the two for a minute, their profit per unit retailed is $3,500. When of the publics, it's somewhere between $1,588 to $2,478.
Yeah. Well,
they just have a different business model, a lot more overhead.
Yeah, a different business model, a lot more overhead. I wonder if, like, one of the interesting things is because they have their own financing company, they can report that income on their profit per vehicle, and so you have the overhead of the banking side of the business as well, which is a whole, that's a whole different level.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's a complicated. I don't sit on the earnings call, so I don't want to speculate or anything like that. I don't
know if they had a call. It seems like this was like a letter. Which is another thing. Like we're gonna write a letter on this.
We're just gonna write it. Well, I think I've talked to a lot of people like, what would you do? And I think that the idea is like, hey, look, the core technology and the idea is right. It's just the capacity of the operators, the managers, the people. Like there is something about being a quote unquote car person that allows you to make decisions in an environment like this that require a different level of focus and intention. That dealers have the ability to work through and people that have come through that structure. And so a lot of people are like, well, I'd hire some car people to make some decisions about cars, and I just don't know what that management structure looks like, but I would have to guess that it's a lot of like people from outside the industry trying to make retail decisions, solely retail decisions in an altogether different vertical that can look like retail, and we encourage retail a lot. But there's just some different things that if you've never been in it, if you've never sat in, the inventory marketing and the merchandising and those meetings, then, you can make some decisions that are perceivably good, but maybe aren't the best for the end user.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of ended up by saying they're not going to be providing an outlook for 2023. They said, we believe forecasting the environment over the coming months and quarters is difficult.
Well, we bring you down to shoot you right back up to the sky. So speaking of shooting back up to the sky, I don't know.
Stop. Segue.
Time. We were both like all of our sentences are like da 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 da.
Well, this is a fun one. We wanted to end on a really fun one. Look, let's not paint the picture that it is doom and gloom, because it's not. Definitely I don't know if that's the truth for Carvana, because it feels like that over there. But maybe we'll pull one out. But so let's get back to like the retail auto industry that we live in today and talk a little bit about marketing. This is a fun one. The colors you choose can make a distinct difference in the emotions you trigger in guests and buyers. There's an infographic we have up on the screen right now. It's linked up in the show notes. You have to check it out. It's such an interesting read from Luxury SoCal Realty. And they want to help you sell your house faster, but also give a lot of other things like, hey, these will help you sell your house faster. These will help you decrease childhood aggression. This will help you calm down customers. Colors can do a lot. I don't know.
Yeah,
let's give them some of the quick details on the colors. Take some notes.
Give them some of the details. Red increases pulse rates by 0.356 points. I thought that was wild.
Yep.
White paint reflects up to 98.1% of sunlight, making rooms look bigger. So like if you got a little small house or you got a small situation, make that room white, boom, all of a sudden feels a lot bigger, especially if you get some sunlight in there. I thought those were both like kind of interesting things that you can think about in a car dealership. Like if you put red too many places, like people are already anxious. So adding to blood pressure, not the greatest thing,
Beaver Toyota doesn't feel like that.
Well, yeah, but
as I was going through that,
it's not prevailing.
The red's not everywhere.
You know?
I know. I was going through this and I was just like affiliating these colors with automotive brands.
Places that you
like,
been. Yeah.
It was like red. It was like a Toyota. Like, what are they going to do to counteract that? Like 75% of people prefer purple over other colors. There you go, cars.com.
Wow.
They get to it a little bit. White paint reflects 98%. Like you said, makes rooms look bigger. I thought a Roadster for some reason. They kind of like got that real white stark. And you think about like the Apple Store and the Apple website, like, okay. Pink reduces aggression in children by 45%. So I think there should be
the child area.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Just paint that sucker pink. Done.
Whenever I go to a store and I see the child area with like the books and the games, I'm like, man, I wish we had a highlight reel of the meltdowns that happened in that room. That's a tricky business right there.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the dichotomy on red though is what's interesting is that like it draws attention and actually increases conversions more than any other color. So like, you know, there's kind of an excitement alongside of the pulse rate. So, you know, just like looking at those two things was really interesting to me. And then I think that a lot, you know, like one of the colors that they've got this whole like maximizing market value, they associate it with some brands, but you see a lot of, especially like luxury brands in auto or those that are pushing toward luxury, kind of doing this monochromatic with a black heavy focus. And they note that it's that it's a color that offers strength, sophistication, and mystery in your product. So it's a very luxurious type feel, and also strength and mystery, that kind of like, oh, what am I getting myself into here? So I think like you can make a lot of decisions off of this.
The one that we didn't put in the show notes was on the sheet. Yellow triggers appetite. So all of a sudden, start to think McDonald's, In-N-Out Burger. They got the yellow triggering your
Burger
appetite,
King.
The red generating some excitement, right? Like no wonder red and yellow are the colors. But whatever you're doing today, pay attention to some colors around you. But more than anything, pay attention to your business, which means pay attention to your people going into this weekend, because you got some people to meet, some people to sell to, some people to take care of.